What if I told you that your biggest enemy isn't your boss, your past, your bank balance, or your bad luck? What if the real thing holding your life back is the story your own brain keeps telling you? Right now, your brain is quietly narrating your life like a movie. It decides what things mean. It decides what's possible for you. It decides whether you feel confident or defeated, hopeful or stuck. And here's the terrifying part. Most of what your brain tells you is not true. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert and one of the most unconventional thinkers in self-development, says your brain is a biased, lazy, fear-based storytelling machine. It exaggerates danger. It clings to failure. It protects your comfort zone like it's your survival. Which means you are not seeing reality as it is. You are seeing reality through a broken filter. And that broken filter is quietly shaping your entire life. Think about it. Two people can experience the same failure. One gives up forever. The other becomes unstoppable. Same event, different story, different life. In his powerful book, Reframe Your Brain, Scott Adams reveals a shocking truth. You don't need more talent. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a perfect plan. You need a new mental frame. Because the moment you change the meaning of what happens to you, you change how you feel. The moment you change how you feel, you change how you act. And the moment you change how you act, your entire future shifts. This book isn't about positive thinking. It's about strategic thinking. It's about training your brain to stop sabotaging you and start working for you. In the next few minutes, you'll learn why your brain lies to you every day, how reframing one thought can change your confidence instantly, why failure is secretly working in your favor, and how to build a mindset that attracts opportunity, luck, and success. So if you've ever felt stuck, behind in life, or secretly afraid that you're wasting your potential, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may never see your life the same way again. Scott Adams explains something that completely changes how you see your own mind. Your brain was never designed to make you happy, confident, or successful. It was designed for one brutal purpose only: to keep you alive and conserve energy. That's it. Your brain is a survival machine, not a happiness machine, which means it is constantly scanning for danger, exaggerating risks, remembering failures more than wins, and predicting worst-case outcomes that probably will never happen. It zooms in on what went wrong instead of what went right. It protects your ego from discomfort by talking you out of risks, opportunities, and growth. It whispers, "Don't try, you might fail. Don't speak up, you might look stupid. Don't change, it's safer to stay where you are." And over time, this survival wiring creates a distorted mental filter through which you see your entire life. Problems start to feel 10 times bigger than they actually are. Small risks start to feel like life or death decisions. Your potential starts to look smaller and smaller, while other people's success looks impossibly far away. You begin to confuse fear with reality. You mistake comfort for safety. You assume your anxious thoughts are facts. And slowly, without even realizing it, you stop seeing the world as it is. You start seeing the world exactly the way your brain frames it. This is the dangerous part, because whatever story your brain keeps repeating becomes your identity. If your brain keeps telling you, "I'm bad at this," you become the person who never tries. If it keeps saying, "Nothing ever works for me," you become the person who quits too early. If it keeps whispering, "I'm not good enough," you become the person who plays small and settles for less. Not because those stories are true, but because repetition turns thoughts into beliefs, and beliefs turn into behavior, and behavior turns into destiny. And that's Scott Adams' core warning. Most people are not failing at life because they lack talent or opportunity. They are failing because their own brain is quietly lying to them every single day, and they believe it. Scott Adams introduces one of the most life-altering ideas in the entire book: reframing. Reframing means changing the meaning you assign to something that already happened. Not changing the facts. Not lying to yourself. Not pretending everything is perfect. but changing the story you tell yourself about what those facts mean. For example, when you fail at something, your brain instantly jumps to, I failed, so I'm not good enough. That single sentence doesn't just describe the event, it destroys your confidence, drains your motivation, and trains you to quit early. But Adams says you can take the exact same failure and reframe it as, I failed, so I just learned what doesn't work yet. Same event, same outcome, completely different emotional effect. One version makes you feel ashamed and small. The other version makes you feel curious, hopeful, and unstoppable. The same thing happens with rejection. Your brain says, they rejected me, so I must be worthless. And in one brutal mental shortcut, your entire self-worth collapses. But reframed, that same rejection becomes, they rejected me because I wasn't a fit for that situation. Not a judgment of your value. Not proof that you're unlovable. Just information. Just data. Just one door that wasn't meant for you. Same facts. Different meaning. Different emotional outcome. And this is where Adams drops the real bomb. Meaning is optional. Nothing in your life comes with built-in meaning. Events don't tell you what they mean. Your brain simply picks the most emotional, fear-based story by default, and you mistake it for truth. But the moment you realize you can choose a better story, everything changes. Because the story you choose becomes your emotional reality. And your emotional reality determines your behavior. And your behavior determines your future. If you choose a story that makes you feel weak, ashamed, and defeated, you will act weak, ashamed, and defeated. If you choose a story that makes you feel capable, resilient, and optimistic, you will act capable, resilient, and optimistic. So when Adams says, you get to choose the story, he isn't talking about positive thinking. He's talking about strategic thinking. He's talking about choosing meanings that create confidence instead of fear, motivation instead of paralysis, action instead of avoidance. Because the story you repeat about your failures will decide whether you become someone who gives up or someone who becomes unstoppable. And that one choice, the meaning you assign to your experiences, quietly controls your confidence, your motivation, your behavior, and ultimately, your entire future point. One of the most powerful and misunderstood ideas in Scott Adams' philosophy is this: don't focus on goals, focus on systems. And at first, that sounds almost wrong. We've been taught our entire lives to dream big, set massive goals, and visualize success. I want to be rich. I want to be famous. I want to be successful. But Adams says goals are emotional fantasies. They make you feel inspired for a moment, and then completely overwhelmed the next. Because a goal lives in the future. It reminds you every day of what you are not yet. And that constant gap between where you are and where you want to be creates pressure, anxiety, and quiet disappointment. A goal says, I want to be successful. And your brain replies, you're not. That's demotivating. But a system is different. A system brings your attention back to what you can actually control today. A system says, I write 1 page a day. I apply to one opportunity every day. I train for 30 minutes a day. No drama, no fantasy, no pressure, just action. And here's the genius of it. You can fail a goal. You can miss it. You can fall short. You can look at it one day and decide, what's the point anymore? But you cannot fail a system if you simply follow it. Either you did the action today, or you didn't. That's it. No emotional judgment. No identity crisis. No story about being a loser. This is where reframing quietly changes your entire relationship with success. Instead of waking up every day feeling behind in life, you wake up asking one small, powerful question. Did I run my system today? If the answer is yes, you are winning, even if nothing big has happened yet. Because systems remove pressure and replace it with momentum. They turn ambition into behavior. They turn dreams into habits. They turn hope into math. And slowly, almost invisibly, something incredible happens. Results start showing up without you obsessing over them. Confidence grows because you're keeping promises to yourself. Motivation rises because progress feels real. Discipline becomes natural because the steps are small and repeatable. This is why Adams says reframing turns pressure into process. You stop chasing success like it's a miracle you're waiting for, and start building success like it's a routine you live. And that single shift, from emotional systems is often the difference between people who stay stuck for decades and people who quietly build extraordinary lives. Scott Adams completely flips one of the most popular pieces of life advice on its head. He says you don't need passion to succeed, you need energy. And this is uncomfortable to hear, because we've all been told the same romantic story. Follow your passion and everything will work out. But Adams calls that advice dangerous nonsense. Because passion is unreliable. Passion comes and goes. Passion disappears the moment things get hard, boring, uncertain, or slow. Passion doesn't show up when you're tired, rejected, stressed, or overwhelmed. Passion is a feeling, and feelings are terrible leaders. Energy, on the other hand, is reliable. Adams argues that your success depends far less on your motivation and far more on your physical state, on your sleep, on your diet, on your exercise, on how much stress you're carrying in your nervous system every single day. Because when your body is exhausted, underfed, overstimulated, and stressed, your brain automatically becomes negative, fearful, lazy, and short-sighted. You don't feel confident. You don't feel brave. You don't feel hopeful. You don't feel disciplined. You feel like quitting. Not because your dreams are wrong, but because your biology is broken. And this is the hidden truth most people miss. Low energy creates low ambition. High energy creates high standards. When your physical energy improves, your entire personality starts to change. Your confidence rises, not because your life suddenly got better, but because your brain now has enough fuel to handle discomfort. Your willpower increases because basic tasks no longer feel overwhelming. Your optimism increases because your nervous system is no longer stuck in survival mode. Problems that once felt impossible now feel manageable. Risks that once felt terrifying now feel exciting. Your future that once felt dark now feels open again. This is why Adams says stop chasing motivation. Motivation is a side effect of energy. You don't wake up motivated because you read a quote. You wake up motivated because you slept well, ate well, moved your body, and lowered your stress.so instead of hunting for passion like it's some magical personality trait you're missing. Adams says, optimize your biology. Fix your sleep. Clean up your diet. Move your body every day. Reduce stress wherever you can. And watch what happens. You don't become a different person. You become the person you were always supposed to be, before exhaustion, burnout, and bad habits stole your power. And that's why this idea is so dangerous in the best way. Because it means your life doesn't need a new dream. It needs a new daily routine. Scott Adams shatters one of the most limiting beliefs people carry their entire lives. The idea that confidence is something you're either born with or you're not. He reframes confidence not as a personality gift, not as luck, not as some magical trait reserved for extroverts and leaders, but as a learned behavior, a skill, something you build the same way you build muscles, money, or mastery, slowly, repeatedly, through exposure. Adams explains that confident people are not people who never feel fear, anxiety, or self-doubt. They are people who train themselves to move forward despite those feelings. Confidence grows every time you willingly step into discomfort. Every time you survive an awkward moment that your brain swore would destroy you. Every time you raise your hand, speak up, introduce yourself, set a boundary, ask for something you want, or take a small social risk, and live to tell the story. Because each of those moments leaves behind a quiet piece of evidence in your nervous system. I can handle this. And that evidence compounds. The first time you do something scary, your hands shake. Your voice trembles. Your heart races. You feel stupid. You feel exposed. But then, nothing terrible happens. You don't die. You're not rejected from society. The world doesn't end. And your brain logs a new data point. Survival achieved. The second time is a little easier. The third time feels uncomfortable, but manageable. The 10th time feels normal. And one day you look back and realize the thing that once terrified you now feels boring. That's how confidence is actually built. Not through affirmations. Not through visualization. not through waiting until you feel ready. Adams makes this brutally practical point. Act confident first. The feeling comes later. Most people get this backward. They sit around waiting to feel confident before they take action. And because the feeling never arrives, their life never changes. But confident people do the opposite. They take the action while feeling scared, and their brain follows their behavior. Because your brain learns confidence from proof, not from promises. Every time you do something hard and survive it, your identity quietly upgrades. You stop seeing yourself as someone who can't. You start seeing yourself as someone who figures things out, someone who adapts, someone who handles pressure. And that identity shift is everything. This is why Adams says confidence is not something you find. It's something you earn. You earn it by leaning into discomfort instead of running from it. You earn it by collecting small wins instead of waiting for big miracles. You earn it by doing scary things badly until you can do them well. And once you understand this, something liberating happens. You stop asking, "Why am I not confident yet?" And you start asking, "What uncomfortable action am I willing to take today?" Because that one action, repeated enough times, will quietly turn you into the confident person you thought you had to be born as. Scott Adams delivers one of the most liberating mindset shifts in the entire book when he says this: failure is not a verdict, it's a data point. Most people treat failure like a final judgment on their worth, their intelligence, and their future. One rejection and they think, "I'm not cut out for this." One bad attempt and they decide, "I guess I'm just not talented." One mistake and they label themselves a failure. And in that single moment, they close the door on their own potential. But Adams completely reframes failure as something radically different. Not proof that you're bad, but feedback from reality. Every failed attempt is reality giving you information. It's telling you what doesn't work yet. It's showing you where your timing is off, where your strategy is weak, where your skills need sharpening. And here's the part most people miss. Every failure secretly improves your odds next time. Because now you're no longer guessing. You're adjusting. You're refining. You're getting closer. Each attempt narrows the distance between you and what actually works. This means failure is not pushing you backward. It's pushing you forward, just not in a straight line. Think about it. Every successful person you admire didn't win their way to the top. They failed their way there. Bad ideas came before good ones. Rejections came before acceptance. Losing streaks came before breakthroughs. But instead of treating those failures as stop signs, they treated them like road signs. Information, direction, guidance. And this is where Adams drops the mic. If you're failing forward, you're winning. Because the only real failure is not failing, it's quitting. It's standing still. It's deciding that one painful moment gets to define your entire future. As long as you are still experimenting, still trying, still adjusting, still learning, you are in the game. You are accumulating skill. You are increasing surface area for luck. You are moving closer to outcomes you can't even see yet. But if you treat every failure like a verdict, you freeze. You stop taking risks. You stop trying new things. You start playing small to protect your ego. And your life quietly shrinks around your feared. Adams' reframe changes everything. Failure doesn't mean this will never work. It means this version didn't work. Failure doesn't mean I'm bad at this. It means I just discovered one more way not to do it. And when you truly absorb this idea, something powerful happens inside you. You stop being terrified of mistakes. You stop needing to look perfect. You stop waiting until you feel ready. You start moving faster, experimenting more, and learning quicker than everyone else around you. Because now failure isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's your compass. It's your unfair advantage. And that's why Adams says this mindset alone can separate the people who stay stuck their entire lives from the people who quietly build extraordinary ones. Scott Adams introduces another mind-bending reframe that completely changes how you see failure, effort, and luck itself. He says most people walk around asking the wrong question. They keep asking, "Why does nothing ever work for me?" And that question quietly turns them into victims of their own story. It makes them feel cursed, unlucky, behind in life, and doomed to always be the one who tries and fails. But Adams says to replace that question with something far more powerful. I'm running experiments. Because the moment you stop seeing your life as a test you're failing and start seeing it as a laboratory you're learning in, everything changes. When you're running experiments, failure is no longer embarrassing. It's expected. It's useful. It's part of the process. Every attempt becomes a data point. Every rejection becomes information. Every wrong turn becomes direction. And here's the part that sounds almost magical but is brutally practical. Every attempt increases your surface area for luck. In other words, luck is not something that randomly falls into people's lives. Luck is something you invite into your life through volume of action. The more things you try, the more people you meet. The more people you meet, the more doors open. The more doors open, the more unexpected opportunities appear. What looks like good luck from the outside is almost always just invisible effort stacking up behind the scenes. Adams argues that luck is not random, it's attracted. It's attracted by motion. It's attracted by courage. It's attracted by consistency. It's attracted by people who keep showing up and trying again, even when nothing seems to be working yet. The universe doesn't reward people who wait perfectly. It rewards people who move imperfectly. This means the person sending out 10 job applications has 10 times more luck potential than the person sending out one. The person uploading 100 videos has 100 times more luck potential than the person uploading 5. The person starting awkward conversations, launching messy projects, and taking clumsy shots at big dreams is quietly building a magnetic field for opportunity. And this reframe is dangerous in the best way, because it means you are not unlucky. You are just underexposed. You haven't failed too much. You failed too little. The only people who never get lucky are the people who stop trying. So when Adams says, "You are luckier than you think," what he really means is this. You are one experiment away from a breakthrough you can't predict. One action away from meeting someone who changes your life. One attempt away from something finally working. But only if you keep moving. Only if you keep experimenting. Only if you keep showing up. Because in the long run, luck doesn't belong to the smartest, the most talented, or the most perfect. It belongs to the people who took the most shots. Scott Adams saves one of the most liberating ideas in the book for last, and it quietly changes everything you think you know about happiness. He says happiness isn't something the world gives you. It's not a reward for perfect timing, perfect people, or perfect circumstances. Happiness is not about what happens to you. It's about the meaning you assign to what happens to you. In other words, happiness is a choice of interpretation. Two people can live through the exact same event, the same failure, the same breakup, the same rejection, the same setback, and one becomes bitter, defeated, and hopeless, while the other becomes wiser, stronger, and more grounded. The difference isn't reality. The difference is the story their brain tells about reality. Adams explains that your brain is constantly narrating your life like a documentary, and you get to decide whether that documentary is a tragedy, a training montage, or a hero's journey. When something painful happens, you always have access to a better question. Not, why is this happening to me? But, what's useful about this? How does this help me long term? What skill is this building in me? And the moment you start asking those questions, your emotional life upgrades instantly. Because now, even bad days become productive days. Even losses become lessons. Even heartbreak becomes preparation. Even rejection becomes redirection. You stop feeling cursed by life and start feeling coached by it. This reframe doesn't mean you pretend pain doesn't hurt. It means you stop turning pain into identity. You stop telling yourself, "This happened because I'm broken," and start telling yourself, "This happened because I'm being trained for something bigger." And here's the wild part. Your brain believes whatever story you repeat most often. So if you keep saying, "Nothing ever works out for me," your brain will find evidence to prove it. If you keep saying, "Everything bad happens to me," your brain will filter reality to confirm it. But if you start saying, "This is shaping me. This is making me stronger. This is preparing me for something better," your brain starts cooperating with that story too. Same events, same life, completely different emotional experience. Adams argues that this single habit, choosing a useful interpretation, is one of the highest leverage mental skills you can develop. Because you can't control what life throws at you, but you can always control the frame you put around it. And when you master that frame, you stop waiting for life to improve before you feel better. You start feeling better first, and your life improves because of it. That's not motivational fluff. That's cognitive engineering. That's how you turn chaos into clarity. That's how you turn pain into power. That's how you turn an ordinary life into a meaningful one. Not by changing your circumstances, but by changing the story you tell about them. Scott Adams ends with a message so simple it feels almost too obvious, and yet so powerful it can quietly change the entire direction of your life. He says you don't need a better life. You need a better lens. Because your life is not shaped first by your circumstances, it's shaped first by your interpretation of those circumstances. What you believe something means determines how you feel about it. How you feel about it determines how you act. How you act determines the results you get. In other words, change the story, change the emotion, change the behavior, change the result. That's the invisible chain running your entire life. Most people waste years trying to upgrade their external world. A better job, a better partner, more money, more validation, more certainty, without ever realizing that they're still looking at that upgraded world through the same broken mental lens. And when the lens doesn't change, the experience doesn't change either. You can move to a new city and still feel stuck. You can get a promotion and still feel insecure. You can find love and still feel unworthy. Because the brain keeps replaying the same old story in a new environment. Adam's real insight is this: your brain is not a truth machine. It's a meaning-making machine, and meaning is optional. You get to decide whether a failure is a verdict or a lesson. You get to decide whether rejection is proof you're unworthy or proof you're aiming higher. You get to decide whether struggle means you're losing or means you're training. And the moment you start choosing better meanings, your emotions follow. When your emotions change, your behavior changes. When your behavior changes, your outcomes change. Not slowly, not magically, but inevitably. This is why reframing your brain isn't a cute. You get to decide whether rejection is proof you're unworthy or proof you're aiming higher. You get to decide whether struggle means you're losing or means you're training. And the moment you start choosing better meanings, your emotions follow. When your emotions change, your behavior changes. When your behavior changes, your outcomes change. Not slowly, not magically, but inevitably. This is why reframing your brain isn't a cute self-help trick. It's a life skill. It's mental engineering. It's learning to step outside your first emotional reaction and ask, what's the most useful way to see this? Instead of, what's the most painful way to see this? Because whatever frame you choose becomes your reality. Same events, same facts, same life, different lens, different story, different future. So the real takeaway of this book is not motivation. It's control. Not control over the world. Control over your interpretation of it. And once you control that, you don't just change how you think. You change how you live. And that's the real power of Reframe Your Brain. Not that it promises you a perfect life, but that it hands you back the one thing you've always had, but maybe forgot how to use: your perspective. Because the moment you change the lens you look through, the entire world starts to look different. The same setbacks feel lighter. The same failures feel smarter. The same fears feel smaller. You realize you were never trapped by your circumstances, only by the story you were telling about them. And if this message resonated with you even a little, then this video wasn't random. It found you right on time. Thank you for spending these minutes of your life here with me. I truly appreciate you. If you want more mind-shifting book summaries, powerful ideas, and content that helps you grow mentally, emotionally, and financially. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Your future self will thank you for it. Until next time, keep reframing, keep experimenting, and keep becoming the person your next chapter needs. Dizzy.